"You're not security," Victoria Langford said over her untouched espresso. "You're a tired father who picked the wrong table." 3 tables away, Cole Bennett kept one hand beside his coffee and the other near his 7-year-old daughter's red backpack. Sadie sat in a blue school cardigan, repairing the loose ear of a stuffed fox with silver tape. Rain moved down the cafe windows. Inside, everything smelled of roasted beans, polished wood, and expensive perfume. Victoria occupied the private corner with Rachel Monroe, her assistant, and Marcus Keene, the security director who had checked both entrances twice. Cole noticed what Marcus had not, the mirrored panel behind the espresso machine. A man in a delivery jacket had entered 6 minutes earlier carrying no package. He ordered nothing and watched Victoria's table only through reflections. Cole waited until the man shifted closer, then quietly suggested that Victoria move away from the glass. Marcus looked over Cole's faded work shirt, old jacket, grease-marked fingers, and the child beside him. "My team knows what it's doing," Victoria said. "Finish breakfast with your daughter." Sadie stopped wrapping the tape. Cole saw her watching him. He did not defend himself. In the mirror, the delivery man's shoulder tightened and his right hand disappeared inside his coat. The next 2 seconds changed the room. Cole drew Victoria back from the window and slid an empty chair across the path between her table and the service aisle. The delivery man stopped. His hand emerged holding a thin black strip no wider than a hotel key card. He turned toward the kitchen, but Cole had already blocked that route. No one was struck. Cole simply removed every clear path before the man understood that he had been seen. The grinder went silent. A server froze with a porcelain cup above its saucer. Rachel's phone remained halfway to the table. Victoria stood behind Cole, her smile gone. Marcus stepped forward. "Put it down." The stranger looked toward the front window. Outside, a dark sport utility vehicle pulled away before the light changed. Cole kept his hands open. Placed the strip on the table. The stranger obeyed when Café. Security arrived. Cole stepped away, crouched beside Sadie, and picked up the fox that had slipped from her lap. "You okay?" She nodded. "You said we were just getting breakfast." "We were." A police officer searched the delivery jacket and found a black Langford Systems access card beneath the false badge. The name belonged to Daniel Mercer, a technician who had died 2 years earlier. Rachel read it aloud. Marcus's expression changed for less than a second. Victoria noticed. So did Cole. The black strip was an executive credential reader. It could capture the handshake between a company phone and a secure card, but it could not steal Victoria's data alone. Someone inside Langford Systems had prepared the system to answer it. Victoria looked from the dead employee's card to the black vehicle disappearing into traffic. "Who are you?" she asked. Cole handed the fox back to Sadie. "The man you told to finish breakfast." No one laughed. 3 hours earlier, Cole stood barefoot in the narrow kitchen of his apartment, spreading peanut butter across 2 slices of bread while the radiator clicked behind him. Sadie sat at the table in her blue school cardigan, one sneaker untied, the red backpack open beside her chair. She was supposed to be checking the batteries in her science project. Instead, she was fighting with a strip of silver tape. Cole cut the sandwich diagonally, packed it with an apple and milk, then moved through the morning without wasting motion. Lunch. Water bottle. Permission slip. Spare sweater. Science fair card. Above the sink stood 2 mugs. Cole reached for the plain white one. The second had a faded yellow sun painted across it. Emily had bought the pair during their first winter together. She had been gone 3 years, but Cole had never moved hers. Sadie held up the stuffed fox. "It keeps coming loose." Cole sat beside her and wrapped the tape around the torn seam. "That should hold until tonight. Will you be at the science fair on Saturday before noon?" Cole checked the old watch on his wrist. It ran 2 minutes fast. Emily used to say that being early left more room to forgive the world. Before 11:45. You said that last time. Last time the alarm panel at Jefferson Middle School failed. You still came late. Cole tied her sneaker and looked at her directly. This time I will. He did not make promises casually. Sadie placed the Fox inside her backpack and nodded. Cole worked for a contractor that maintained fire alarms, emergency doors, generators, and security panels in public schools. Most people knew him as the quiet technician who noticed blocked exits, unfamiliar vehicles, and people standing where they had no reason to stand. They did not know where he learned those habits. Between 26 and 32, his employment record contained 6 years of almost nothing, no company address, public assignments, or references anyone could call. Only a sealed federal file and a disconnected number. By 8:15, the school bus had broken down and the rain had turned the sidewalk silver. Cole and Sadie entered the cafe to wait for a replacement bus. He chose a table with a view of the front entrance, service door, and mirrored steel behind the counter. Victoria arrived with Rachel and Marcus. Chief Operating Officer Nora Finch remained outside speaking to the driver. Marcus checked the doors. Rachel checked the schedule. Victoria placed her executive card inside her leather bag. No one checked the reflection. The delivery man entered 4 minutes later. After police finished taking statements, Rachel searched Cole's name. She expected a military biography or contractor profile, something ordinary enough to explain how he recognized danger before trained security. Instead, the public record reached 26 and disappeared for 6 years. Across the cafe, Cole helped Sadie press the silver tape flat against the Fox's ear. He seemed more concerned about her unfinished breakfast than the executive staring at him. Rachel looked at the empty ears. The strangest thing about Cole Bennett was not how quickly he moved. It was how completely the world had failed to record the man he had been. 3 days after the cafe incident, Cole entered the 42nd floor of Langford Systems carrying the canvas tool bag he used for school maintenance calls. He had already signed Sadie's Saturday science fair form and promised he would be there before noon. Victoria sat in a glass conference room with Rachel and Marcus. Nora Finch, Chief Operating Officer, sat across from Paul Danner, who supervised building systems. Driver Leon Hayes joined by video. 6 people had known the cafe location: Victoria, Rachel, Marcus, Nora, Paul, and Leon. Marcus called the breach isolated. The access card had been copied from an archived profile. The stranger probably bought the reader online. The 11 missing minutes of cafe footage were an unfortunate network failure. Cole placed his bag beside the table. Why was her route changed? Nora said a demonstration blocked the original restaurant. Who suggested the cafe? Rachel checked the calendar. The change came through executive security. Marcus folded his arms. My office coordinates routes. Which person? The request was automated. Cole asked Leon when he received the destination, Paul who maintained the cafe camera link, and Rachel when Victoria's card was last tested. Each answer was reasonable alone. Together, they formed a path. He studied a cafe still. The delivery man wore tactical soles, an earpiece with no paired phone, and a jacket with a company patch removed moments before entry. You are building a story from coincidence, Marcus said. Coincidence does not usually share a schedule. Cole turned toward the current security plan. His eyes moved from the executive elevators to the loading dock and eastern utility corridor. This plan is incomplete. Paul gave a short laugh. I manage the building. Cole touched an empty section beside the ventilation shaft. There should be a 4th service stairwell here. Paul said it had been removed during renovation. Cole looked at the active air return above the door. You did not remove the stairwell. You removed it from the plan. Rachel opened an archived blueprint. A narrow staircase descended from the executive lobby to a sealed recovery suite on the 39th floor. Paul explained that the suite had been decommissioned. The drawing was simplified because the corridor was no longer used. Cole asked for its door logs. There were none. Marcus said a sealed corridor did not require monitoring. Cole looked at the evidence photo. Then why did a dead employee still have permission to enter it? Rachel searched Daniel Mercer's profile. His credential had been disabled after his death, then reactivated for 11 minutes on the morning of the Café incident. The authorization came from a shared emergency account used by 6 senior employees. No single name appeared. That mattered. Marcus was no longer the obvious answer. Neither was anyone else. You do not have one broken camera or one stolen card, Cole said. You have someone teaching your system to recognize the wrong people and ignore the right doors. Victoria asked what he needed. Raw logs. Contractor payments. Every change to the special shareholder meeting 2 mornings from now. No summaries written by the departments being examined. Marcus's jaw tightened. Victoria looked around the table as though every title had become a question. After Cole left, Victoria told Rachel, find out who he was before the schools. 4 hours of calls produced only an encrypted message from a federal address. Cole had served with a classified protective unit assigned to evacuations, infrastructure threats, and compromised security routes. During one overseas operation, altered maps sent civilians toward a collapsing corridor. Cole found an unlisted maintenance passage and guided 23 people through it. His threat recognition scores remained among the unit's highest. Why did he leave? Victoria asked. The message does not say. They found him later that afternoon in Sadie's school gymnasium during an after-school setup session. Paper planets hung from basketball hoops, and children stood beside projects with the solemn concentration of scientists. Cole knelt beside a cardboard emergency lighting circuit, tightening a loose wire. Sadie held the stuffed fox beneath one arm. Victoria stopped near the doorway, visibly out of place among parents wearing sweaters and handwritten name tags. You found the stairwell, Cole said. It was never gone. Neither are most things people stop recording. Sadie pressed a switch. 3 tiny lights glowed along the model hallway. Cole smiled at her before standing. Victoria asked about the sealed years. Those years are over. That is not an answer. It is the answer that matters to her. Cole explained that he had spent too many years arriving after birthdays, school plays, and nights when Emily needed him home. After Emily died, Sadie began calling a neighbor when nightmares woke her because she had learned her father might not answer. Leaving dangerous work was not weakness. It was the first promise he could keep every morning. You still watch every door, Victoria said. I changed the job. Not the responsibility. She explained that Langford Systems would hold a special shareholder meeting on Saturday morning to decide a $600 million merger. If shareholders rejected the protective agreement, debt clauses would let the investment group divide the company, sell 3 divisions, and eliminate nearly 2,000 jobs. Cole asked who controlled emergency procedure if the vote was interrupted. Marcus supervised evacuation. Nora controlled continuity operations. Paul maintained the recovery suite. Rachel held Victoria's backup schedule. Leon controlled transport. 6 people again. The old suite contains a hardwired terminal, Victoria said. During an emergency, it can activate a temporary executive proxy. Whose approval? Mine and the security director's. Cole looked toward Sadie, who was repairing her project with silver tape. If someone created the emergency, they would not need to win the shareholder vote. They would only need to control where you went afterward. Victoria offered him a temporary consulting agreement. He accepted under 2 conditions. Sadie's schedule came first, and Rachel, not executive security, would preserve every record he requested. Before Victoria left, Sadie held up the fox. Does the tape look bad? Victoria studied the silver line across its ear. No. It shows where someone cared enough to fix it. Cole looked at her differently, not with trust, but with the first indication that trust might still be possible. That evening, Cole returned to Langford Systems wearing a temporary badge. Marcus met him in the lobby. 72 hours, Marcus said. Then we returned to normal. Cole looked at the cameras. Normal is what brought me here. He began with records no one considered important enough to hide: maintenance reports, contractor invoices, door batteries, vehicle entries, and schedule changes. 3 cameras had failed during the previous 8 months. Each covered a different part of Victoria's routine and had been replaced by the same contractor. One report used Nora's approval while she was speaking in Boston. Another carried Paul's authorization during a hospital stay. A third used Marcus's emergency account while he was flying over Colorado. Someone was using senior credentials to create reasonable explanations. Within 2 hours, Victoria had changed elevators, left her phone with Rachel, and moved a meeting away from a glass wall after Cole pointed out the reflection from the building opposite. Nora objected. "We are letting a school technician reorganize executive operations." Cole asked who benefited if shareholders rejected the agreement. "Every competitor we have." "And if an emergency proxy replaced it?" "The investment group would control the temporary committee." Her answer made her both a suspect and a possible target. In the underground garage, Cole studied the reflection in a parked sedan. A black sport utility vehicle waited near the exit. He had seen the same model outside the café, near Sadie's school, and across from Langford Systems. The plate was different each time. He requested the garage records without turning toward it. The vehicle left 40 seconds later. Its credential belonged to Daniel Mercer. Daniel had helped connect the old recovery suite to the emergency system. Before his death, he reported that its terminal could approve more than evacuation functions. Paul opened the legacy manual. The terminal could activate an emergency proxy, release protected merger files, and confirm revised continuity terms if the boardroom system failed. Marcus called the functions obsolete. "Obsolete systems do not attract live credentials," Cole said. Near 9, Victoria found him comparing camera outages with schedule changes. She placed coffee near his hand. "Which one of them is it?" "I do not know." She appeared surprised. "I saw behavior in the café. Guilt is different." He showed her the access history. Nora's account changed the meeting location. Paul's reopened the suite. Rachel's calendar exported Victoria's route. Marcus's account reactivated Daniel. Leon's garage token admitted the vehicle. "Someone wants you to accuse the first name you see," Cole said. "That stops you comparing the pattern." Rachel entered with contractor payment records. Money had passed through a consulting company registered above an abandoned laundromat. Its manager was related to Marcus by marriage. Victoria looked through the glass wall. Marcus was speaking calmly with legal counsel. "One connection is not proof," Cole said. Marcus entered and asked what they had found. Cole turned the invoice face down. "A dead man who still opens doors." For the first time, Marcus had no answer ready. Then Rachel's computer sounded. Someone had scheduled a system-wide deletion for 9:18 on Saturday morning, 12 minutes before the shareholder merger vote. The command did not belong to Marcus. It belonged to Victoria. The trap closed at 4:12 the following afternoon. Cole had spent the morning inspecting emergency doors at Sadie's school. When he returned to Langford Systems, his canvas tool bag was already on the conference table. The zipper faced the wrong direction. Sadie had arranged the screwdrivers by size on Sunday. The smallest now rested beside the largest. Marcus stood near Victoria with legal counsel and 2 independent officers. A sealed pouch contained a storage device found beneath Cole's voltage tester. Its files included Victoria's schedule, merger documents, the recovery suite plan, and the command scheduled to delete records at 9:18 the next morning. Marcus said the Café incident gave Cole a reason to enter the company. The missing stairwell, dead employee, and black vehicle might be distractions created to make him necessary. Cole's badge had opened the recovery suite at 11:18 that morning. Video showed him entering with his tool bag. The storage device had been created at the same time. Rachel objected. Cole had been scheduled at Sadie's school. Scheduled is not the same as present, Marcus said. Victoria did not look angry. She looked disappointed. Can you explain this? At 11:18, I was replacing the emergency sensor outside the school gym. The district has not released its footage, counsel said. They will. Marcus displayed the company video. The figure wore Cole's gray shirt, carried his bag, and used his badge. His face appeared clearly for 3 seconds. Cole watched twice. He did not call it false before the records could prove it. He asked when the recovery plan on the device had been created. 11:18. When was the fourth stairwell added to that file? Rachel checked. 11:32. Metadata changes when files are opened, Marcus said. Cole looked at Victoria. The truth will remain true after every record is checked. Legal counsel recommended immediate suspension. The shareholder vote was less than 20 hours away. If Victoria ignored authenticated video, badge logs, and stolen files, the board could remove her before the merger was decided. Your badge, she said. Cole placed it on the glass table. He did not argue. Sadie waited outside Rachel's office because her after-school program had closed early. Her red backpack rested against her knees, and the taped fox sat in her lap. As Cole approached, a junior employee whispered that the quiet contractor had fooled the CEO. Sadie heard. Her fingers tightened around the fox. Inside the elevator, she asked, "Did they think you stole something?" "They think the evidence says I did." "But you didn't." "No, then why are we leaving?" Being right does not give us permission to ignore what other people have to prove. Is Victoria wrong? She is afraid of choosing wrong. Right now, that fear is louder than what I told her. The elevator opened into the lobby. The black sport utility vehicle sat across the street, reflected in the rain-darkened glass. Cole also saw Marcus at a window 40 floors above, watching the vehicle leave. The planted evidence was not meant only to remove Cole. It was meant to make Victoria stop looking before 9:18 the next morning. Cole did not follow the vehicle. He checked his watch, photographed the sport utility vehicle in the lobby reflection, and sent the image to Rachel. Then he called the school's front office, asked them to lock the side entrance, and confirmed that the campus safety officer would meet them at the gym. Sadie's final practice presentation began in 20 minutes. Only then did Cole take her hand. He would keep the promise directly in front of him without leaving the danger for someone else to discover. By 6:30, Rachel obtained the school footage. A hallway camera showed Cole entering at 10:52, signing the maintenance book, repairing the emergency sensor, and remaining beside the gym until 11:41. At 11:18, while Langford's video supposedly showed him opening the recovery suite, Cole stood beneath a school camera with a voltage meter in both hands. The custodian and Sadie's teacher were beside him. The recordings could not both be real. Marcus watched without changing expression. It proved someone was dressed like him at the school. Rachel stared at him. The teacher called him by name. Then the company video could have been altered. Victoria heard the contradiction. If authenticated video can be altered, why did you use it to remove him? Marcus said he had relied on the evidence available. Then he urged her to cancel the shareholder meeting and move the merger decision into the recovery suite. He spoke too quickly, just quickly enough for Victoria to hear purpose beneath advice. After he left, she locked the office and opened every raw record Cole had requested. The storage device claimed its files were copied at 11:18. But the recovery plan included the label fourth stairwell, East Access, which Rachel added at 11:32. It also contained a spelling correction made at 11:31. Someone had assembled the evidence later and changed the clock. Victoria reviewed the recovery suite video frame by frame. The polished door reflected the lights, the bag, and the badge reader. It did not reflect Cole. His image had been placed over an empty corridor. The video's authentication mark came from the emergency evidence key. Victoria's key remained sealed. The second key was stored in Marcus's office safe. Its log had been deleted from Marcus's workstation. Nora brought the contractor payments. The consulting company above the laundromat was controlled by Marcus's brother-in-law. Payments from the investment group arrived before each camera failure. A final payment would clear after the emergency proxy activated. The motive emerged with the method. Marcus had built the security division with Victoria's father. He believed the chief operating position should have been his. When the board chose Nora, the investment group offered him authority over the separated companies, a share of the sale, and the title he believed Victoria denied him. Rachel asked whether she should call Cole. Victoria looked at the temporary badge he had left behind. No. I should go to him. Cole's apartment smelled faintly of laundry soap and radiator heat. Sadie slept on the sofa beneath a blanket, the repaired fox against her shoulder. Cole sat at the kitchen table with the plain white mug in front of him. The yellow sun mug remained untouched above the sink. He did not appear surprised. You checked the raw records. I checked them after I stopped listening to the people explaining them. Victoria placed the school footage, altered file history, payments, and key report on the table. I judged you at the cafe because of your clothes. Today I judged you because the evidence carried an official seal. Both times, I chose the easiest explanation. Cole looked toward Sadie. The vote continues tomorrow, Victoria said. Marcus believes I will move it into the recovery suite. I need him to believe that until he activates the plan. You need Rachel and independent security. I have them. The terminal must be isolated before the alarm. Nora is arranging it. Why come here? Because being right is not enough. I was wrong, and I needed to say it before asking you to return. The radiator clicked between them. Cole checked his watch. I promised Sadie I would reach the science fair before 11:45. Then this ends in time. Cole looked at the sleeping child. No. We plan it so. Keeping the promise is part of what happens. The special shareholder meeting opened at 9 the next morning beneath the cold white light of the East Glass lobby. Board members occupied the central table while shareholders, employees, investors, and reporters filled arranged rows behind them. The shareholder merger vote was scheduled for 9:30. Victoria stood with Rachel at her right and Marcus 3 steps behind her. Cole was nowhere in sight. His suspension remained active in every public record. Marcus believed fear had won. At 9:17, Rachel received a silent message. Fourth stairwell open. Recovery terminal active. Cole had entered through the maintenance level with 2 independent security officers. Nora isolated the old terminal from the company network and replaced the revised merger files with numbered test documents. To Marcus, the system would appear normal. Every command he entered would be preserved somewhere he could not erase. At 9:18, the scheduled deletion began. Rachel allowed it to reach the isolated copy. The public screens remained dark. On Rachel's isolated monitor, the emergency package reached 28%. It contained only numbered test files, but Marcus believed the protected merger archive was moving through the recovery terminal. The command queue showed 3 remaining steps: erase the records, trigger executive relocation, and request Victoria's biometric approval below. The transfer paused at 61%, waiting for Marcus to begin stage 2. 5 minutes later, the building sounded the slow security alarm used for executive relocation. It was not the sharp repeating tone for fire. It was designed to move important people without alarming everyone else. Marcus stepped forward immediately. "East Corridor," he said. "We move now." Two men wearing Langford security jackets appeared beside the restricted door. Neither asked Marcus for instructions. They already knew where to stand. Victoria saw it. The route had been prepared before the alarm began. Marcus placed one hand near her elbow. "The main systems are compromised. The recovery suite is the only secure location." Rachel remained beside the control station, pretending to struggle with the locked network while she captured the deletion command. Nora quietly sealed the public elevators. The east door opened. Beyond it, the corridor lights had been dimmed. The two false guards formed a narrow path toward the missing stairwell. Victoria slowed. One guard held a portable biometric reader. Marcus told her it was needed to confirm the emergency lockdown. In reality, the device would pair her palm scan with the hardwired terminal below. The terminal had already been loaded with revised continuity terms that removed the employee protections, transferred temporary control to the investment group, and released the protected merger files. Victoria looked at the reader. "You loaded the proxy before the alarm." Marcus's face remained calm. "The system prepares emergency documents automatically. Not revised merger terms." For 1 second, no one moved. Then a maintenance door farther down the corridor opened. Cole stepped through wearing the same faded gray shirt he had worn at the cafe. He did not run. He did not shout. He positioned himself between Victoria and the stairwell. The first false guard reached for the wall panel. Cole slid the access cover closed before the command could be entered and removed the temporary badge clipped to the man's sleeve. The photograph did not match the face. The second man moved toward Victoria with the biometric reader. An independent officer stepped from the maintenance doorway and ordered him to place it on the floor. Marcus raised his voice for the first time. "He is suspended. He is interfering with an active emergency." Cole looked toward the glass lobby. Every screen turned on. Rachel began with the evidence that Cole had been framed. The school footage showed him beneath a hallway camera while his manufactured image crossed the recovery corridor without appearing in the polished door. The storage device also claimed to contain a file 14 minutes before Rachel had created it. Next came the evidence connecting the false system to Marcus, Daniel Mercer's reactivated credential, the black vehicle, the deleted safe log, and the emergency key removed from Marcus's office. Finally, Rachel displayed the financial motive, the contractor payments and the revised proxy loaded 7 minutes before the alarm, while Nora opened the isolated terminal record. Marcus's physical emergency key had authorized the deletion, activated the alarm, summoned the two temporary guards, and prepared the transfer of control. Marcus turned toward the main control station. Victoria spoke first. "Lock his authority." Rachel entered the command. The red access light beside Marcus's badge went dark. Marcus looked around the lobby at the directors who had once accepted his explanations before seeing the records. "I built this security division before she inherited the company," he said. "I protected her father's work for 12 years while the board gave my position to someone who had been here 3. Nora did not look away. Marcus continued. "The investment group understood what I was worth. They understood what you were willing to sell," Victoria said. He pointed toward Cole. "And now this contractor becomes the hero because he knows where to stand." Cole checked the old watch on his wrist. "No," he said. "I came back because I made a promise to my daughter, and because you built your plan around everyone else breaking theirs." Independent security officers took Marcus's badge and phone. The false guards were separated without force. No arrest was announced in the lobby, the devices and records would go to investigators who could obtain the proper warrants. The alarm stopped. Victoria looked toward the recovery suite door, then at the board and shareholders waiting behind the glass. "We are not moving this vote into a room no one can see," she said. She returned to the central table. Cole checked the exits, confirmed that Rachel and Nora were safe, and stepped away from the cameras. He had not returned to prove he was important. His watch read 9:47. It was 2 minutes fast. He still had time. Marcus Keene was removed from Langford Systems that morning, but the consequences extended beyond one security office. Investigators later confirmed the payment trail, the altered evidence, the false credentials, and the investment group's plan to use a manufactured emergency to replace the shareholder vote with a controlled proxy. The special shareholder meeting was adjourned for 6 days. At 11:42, Cole entered Sadie's school gymnasium carrying 2 paper cups of hot chocolate. His old watch read 11:44. Sadie saw him from beside her emergency lighting project and looked first at the clock on the wall, then at him. "You came. I said before 11:45. She ran across the polished floor and wrapped both arms around his waist. The stuffed fox pressed between them, its silver-taped ear still holding. Victoria stood near the gym entrance with Rachel but did not interrupt. She watched Cole kneel beside the project while Sadie explained every wire as though the morning had contained nothing more important. For Cole, at that moment, it had not. Victoria remained near the back while the judges tested Sadie's model. When the hallway lights switched from red to white exactly as designed, Sadie searched the room for her father before looking at the judges. Cole raised one thumb. Only then did she smile. Victoria understood that arriving on time was not a small promise in their home. It was the structure holding everything else together. 6 days later, Victoria presented a revised agreement that kept Langford Systems intact, removed the investment group, and preserved the jobs the original deal had placed at risk. The shareholders approved it by a wide margin. Afterward, she asked Cole to enter the same glass conference room where his tool bag had been opened and his honesty questioned. Rachel, Nora, legal counsel, and the senior directors were waiting. Victoria did not sit at the head of the table. She stood beside Cole and said, "I judged him twice before I understood him once. The first time, I trusted appearance. The second, I trusted evidence because it carried an official seal. Both failures came from the same mistake. I decided who deserved to be heard before I finished looking." She explained that the device had been planted and that Cole's actions prevented the emergency proxy from transferring control of the company. Then she offered him the position of Director of Protective Intelligence. Cole read the agreement and placed it back on the table. 2 conditions. His schedule had to allow him to take Sadie to school and be present when she needed him. And every employee, contractor, driver, cleaner, or technician had to be able to report a credible concern without being dismissed because of clothing, title, or salary. Victoria agreed before the lawyers could speak. 3 weeks later, they returned to the café. Sunlight crossed the polished floor where the porcelain cup had broken. Victoria paused beside the private table near the window. "Where should we sit?" Cole looked at the entrances, the service hallway, and the mirrored steel behind the counter. Before he could answer, Sadie selected an ordinary table in the center of the room. She placed the repaired stuffed fox on the empty chair between them. "This one," she said. "Everyone can see everyone." Victoria turned her chair until she could see the front door and its reflection in the mirror. Cole noticed but did not comment. She apologized to Sadie first. "You should never have heard me laugh at your father for trying to help." Sadie touched the silver tape on the fox's ear. "Dad said people can be wrong without changing who we are." Victoria looked at Cole. "He was more generous than I deserved." Cole set down his coffee. "You changed what happens to the next person who speaks. That matters more than making this about what you deserve." Sadie pushed the fox toward the center of the table, making room for Victoria's cup. The café door opened. Cole looked up. A moment later, Victoria did too. Neither movement came from fear. They had simply learned that paying attention was one way of caring for the people in the room. Sadie reached beneath the table and took her father's hand. This time, Cole was not arriving after the danger, the meeting, or the promise. He was exactly where he had said he would be.